Bye week, fresh off the bye week, Awesemo.com golf show. I'm Ben Raza here with Tim Frank. And yeah, we got a little hiatus because of the Zurich. I feel refreshed. I'm not gonna lie, I actually do feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Sad. Like
Anyone that really wanted DFS contests for the Zurich has deep-seated issues. I just wanted to throw that out there right off the top. So
honestly, really sharp point. That is a great point to make because it seems like that would be really fun. Man, what a difference a week makes. Even though I ended up playing the Euro and sweated that out, but it's just different. And it was nice to chill. I actually caught a little of the Zurich, even without obviously having teams for it. So good for Ryan Palmer and John Rahm. Did you watch any of it, or did you just totally disconnect?
no, I didn't watch any of it. I didn't bet any of it, but
That's a win.
is what always happens though is you end up like reverse sweating the guys you were going to bet. So it's like I'm like paying attention to the tournament anyway. But thank God Knox and Stewart didn't win, or KH Lee and Every, who were like leading on Saturday or early Sunday, and I was about to just flip out. So, but yeah, I paid attention to it a little bit, but it's really nice to have a week off. I think there should be more off weeks. I mean, it's such a long season. People that just literally want to play week after week after week. I don't know. So it's a little crazy. So yeah, it's good we got a good tournament too to bounce back to.
We really do. Obviously, Wells Fargo. This is my favorite non-major of the whole year. I love this tournament. I love Quail Hollow. I think it's an awesome course. And we're obviously going to break it down. The first thing, if you're looking, 2017, the PGA Championship was there. The Wells Fargo was at Eagle Point. So if you're looking over course history, make sure you know what you're looking at. But yeah, this is a good one. It's a tough course. It's a long course. It's a solid field. And then it's a quick turnaround. We got another major. This new schedule has got me all thrown off.
Yeah, I literally didn't even look at the schedule until a couple weeks ago, and then I'm like, wait a minute, the PGA Championship.
Yep.
It's all jumbled up, but yeah, it's a good time of the year. So yeah, I'm with you. This is a really good tournament. Obviously, PGA Championship was here, so it's a major championship venue, good field. Yeah, I'm with you. One of the better regular season events of the year.
It is. So do you want to break down the course? Obviously, like I said, Quail Hollow, it's now a par 71. That was one of the changes they've made, but it is long. It's pretty tough. I like it though because you can score if you're driving it well. What did you make of it?
Yeah, 7,500 yard par 71. So that's
Oof.
real long, especially for a par 71. Tough course. Last year, minus 12 won, but it was the fifth toughest course on tour. At the PGA Championship, it was the toughest course on tour, but there it was set up for a major, so I don't really think it's going to play that difficult. But yeah, one of the more difficult tracks on tour. To me, huge emphasis on driving distance. Even though I tried to get away from course fit recently, I mean, I don't think there's any, you can't get away from it this week. Day, JT, James Hahn, Rory, JB Holmes. That's the last 5 winners at Quail Hollow. So right off the bat, you see that the Bombers have had success here. And, just looking at the par 71, 7,500 yards, I think, that kind of leads you to believe off the tee is very important this week. I think a little bit of around the green will be important too. As we say, tougher courses usually require more around the green game. The more greens that are missed, the more bogeys that are made. I think around the green is important. But yeah, I'm looking at driving distance, strokes gained off the tee. There's a lot of long par fours. I think those scoring on those holes will be important as well. So yeah, and just guys that fare well in tougher scoring environments.
There's no doubt. Because I'll put it like this: if you're not really long off the tee, you better be the best long iron player out there because you have no chance if you can't do one of those two things. And you're right. Even if you're dialed in, you're gonna miss some of these greens. They're tough greens. They're fast. They're firm. They're Bermuda. You got to scramble a little. I don't think putting's too important, which is good because some of the guys that I always play are awful putters. So that helps, even though, like everything, there's going to be exceptions. Jason Day's the defending champ. He made everything, literally everything. I remember that well. And that's what you're going to get with some of the world-class players. But I think if you were just trying to create an average golfer and you could allocate skill sets, driving distance would be towards the top of what I'd want my guy to be able to do because these are really long par fours. There's some attackable ones too, which I do like when a course is set up like that. And then the last thing to note, it doesn't have an animal name, but 16, 17, and 18 is serious business at this course. This is an actual hard 3-hole stretch.
Can they rename it from the Green Mile to
Oh
like
yeah,
the Green Tyrannosaurus or something
yeah,
like
we need.
something?
Come on now, the
Yeah,
Green Hornet. Yeah, it's.
the Green Hornet. There you go. Boom.
Okay, I'm gonna use my limited Twitter following to build that up, but it's like you said. I think breaking down the course isn't the difficult part this week. You know what kind of skills you need. It's just going to be who out of once we get down, even though the field's decent, you're not going to find guys that are going to check these boxes. So it's working through guys with some glaring weaknesses in their game compared to this course.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems this week, and I think they came from the fact that we've had a lot of non-shot link events. Last week was a
Yeah, that makes
Zurich,
it
which
tough.
we really aren't paying attention to. 2 weeks ago, RBC, we have shot link, but a completely different course than this. Then we had the Masters, no shot link. Valero, and then the match play. So it was like, really, you have a kind of incomplete data for some of these guys when you're looking back. You may not have strokes gained data for some of these guys until, before the match play, or maybe only one of the last like 4 or 5 events. So it's really difficult, and I'd prefer to have that over finishing position. I just want to see how they struck the ball. I think that's more telling than actually sometimes how they finished. So
Oh,
yeah, it
for
was a
sure.
little bit of a struggle this week.
Finishing, that's the most misleading in some
Yeah,
ways. Like you
exactly.
see a couple of ridiculous shots,
Yep.
it makes all the difference. But this course too, and not that it's going to be indicative of what happens this year, but we've seen. I mean, you mentioned James Hahn when he won here. He was literally on a miscut streak of epic proportions. You get that. You can get some guys who kind of come out of nowhere here. It's a nice mix because you have the Rorys of the world. But I wouldn't be stunned to see, a guy break through for his first win at a course like this.
Yeah, there's been a couple surprise winners. Yeah, Hahn was just, what did he
That
miss?
was
Was like eight. It was like 8 cuts in a row or
it was
something
insane.
ridiculous. Derek Ernst won here a few years back. I mean, yeah, there's been a couple surprises here, but yeah, along with a lot of really good players too. So kind of a mixed bag as far as the winners go over the last 7 or 8 years.
For sure. Well, the easiest way to get into this, obviously, because the one guy who murders this course is Rory, and he leads off the pricing at 11.8. Then we got defending champ Jason Day. We got Ricky. We got Rose, Decky. Those are the 10K plus options. Obviously, they're all worthwhile. That's not where the field starts to tail off. These guys are very legit. To me, I mean, we always say this. You have plenty of options here. It would be Rory, and then if I didn't use him, I would go to the bottom of this little range with Decky or Rose types, take the savings. But there's no doubt that Rory's game suits this course, and we've seen it in his finishes.
Yeah, I mean, not much to say about him. Two-time winner here. 5 other top tens outside of that. Just playing great. T21 at the Masters, and that was his worst finish of the year. We talked about off the tee game. He's just decimating the ball off the tee. The ball striking's been off the charts. So yeah, I mean, there's really nothing bad to say about him. After him, I'd probably go down to Rose at 10-3, who seems like he's an easily forgotten guy. He missed the cut at the Masters where he always plays well. And he kind of up and down on the season, but it just seems like he's a guy that people are very quick to forget about, very quick to jump off. He has a third here, he has a fifth here. And yeah, he's kind of had an up and down season, but I think if he's going to come in at lower ownership, I really like him at 10-3. Decky just seems a little bit overpriced. I don't know. He was okay at the Masters. He didn't advance at the match play. We've talked about how great his ball striking is, and that's true. But yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to go with 10-1 for Decky when Rose is right there. So for me, Rory's the obvious play. That's not breaking any news. Everybody knows that. But for me, I think Rose is probably my second favorite play up top here.
Rose is a guy, obviously, he murdered me. One of my many problems at the Masters. From what I could tell, his putting was atrocious there. That wasn't the only problem. I'm not saying it was as simple as that, but he's a guy that, as disappointing as that was, he can, like you said, his year's been a little erratic. He's got to win at the Farmers. I think that course kind of correlates a bit to what we see here anyway. And he's Justin Rose, so there's no doubt it's a buy low spot for him. Decky, he does seem a little premium in terms of pricing, but at the same time, he's Decky, he can get crazy hot. played well here. Not that I think it's comparable conditions, but in the PGA in 2017. So there's no doubt about that. But I think we're in line, which that's not good. We got Chalk Rory, we got Rose. Uh, this
Yeah,
could
I
be
mean, you know,
this could be ugly.
Day obviously is a great fit here. First, ninth, ninth, the last three times he's played here because, like we said, long off the tee, great around the green game. But yeah, I don't think I'm ready to go 11K for Day.
I'm not really either. And I mean, I get it because, and we'll talk obviously as we work down in a second about Phil. Clearly, this course, when it's set up like this, not that you can spray it, but it's forgiving in the sense that you don't need to be deadly accurate. And a guy like Day, that fits in perfectly to what he does off the tee. If he can get away with these drives, we know how good he is around the green traditionally, and he's, maybe the best putter in the world. So that does set up for him. I'm still kind of with you. I don't think I want to do that. Obviously, ownership's going to dictate a little of this, but that's kind of my first glance for the big guys.
Yeah, yeah, same page for sure. The only
Oh
guy we
dear.
didn't talk about was Ricky, so that's probably your winner.
Yeah, there he is, and I'm wearing orange. It's over. But as you work down, it's always going to be like this. The next tier, we've got Sergio, Webb, Casey, Finau, Phil, and Woodland. I think it's pretty fair pricing. Like that is the next tier in my eyes. A lot of reasonable spots. I'm even on Finau. So talk about things that you would never hear me say. I don't know. He finally showed some life. It's been a pretty bad year for him. Showed life at the Masters. Is he your favorite in 9K, or you like someone else?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough range because I think all these guys are playable. There's reasons
Mhm.
to play all of them. Yeah, the course couldn't set up better for Finau. Was fifth at the Masters, missed the cut last week at the Zurich, but nobody cares about that. Yeah, I think he's a great play. I like Paul Casey.
Oof.
Um,
Buy him
I
back
know,
in.
I know. Yeah, him and Rose. We're just gonna go on the guys that just totally burned us at the Masters. But prior to the miscut, he's had a very good year. A lot of up and down, a little bit up and down, I should say, with him. But it was like he was second at Pebble Beach, third at the WGC Mexico, won the Valspar, ninth at the Match Play. And he's mixed in a couple, not so good events. He had some miscuts, some kind of. It's kind of like he transformed from a guy who the last couple of years we've seen him. He finished in the top
Just about to
10.
say that.
Yeah,
Who
it's
is
like
this
he was
guy?
so
Like,
consistent but couldn't get over the hump. It didn't really have that premium upside. So now he's like kind of a little bit all over the map, and I kind of like that. I mean, especially for tournaments. So yeah, I'm gonna play some Paul Casey. The ball striking is there as it always is, gaining more than a stroke off the tee and on approach. Um, so yeah, I'm a fan of Finau. I really like Casey. Um, and Phil is interesting. I don't know if I want to pay 9,100. I never play Phil, but the course history, and I'm not a course history guy, but I mean, it's just almost impossible to ignore what he's done here. He has 8 finishes of T11 or better since 2009. And if you get good Phil, he's a crazy scorer, which is going to help you. You need the DK scoring, outside of just finishing position. He played decent at the Masters, T18. So I might, for the first time in a long time, play some Phil at 9,100 and hope we just get crazy scoring Phil.
I'm in a similar boat with him. I never play him. I don't like the volatility. I think sometimes it's overblown, but he's to me kind of in the bucket of it's similar to Bubba in the sense that Phil is at the point in his career where he likes to play, he still thrives, and he just doesn't even attempt to play at places he can't play anymore, where he can spray it wildly. Obviously, once again, I just said this with Day, he can get away. He knows where to miss it. We know he can putt. We know he can scramble. We know he can score. So there's something to this course history with him. I'm sure this is an event that he's ready to go and he's very comfortable at. Uh, but yeah, just to echo what you said about Paul Casey, it's insane. Like he used to be play him in cash, tournament, you'll get away with it. It's the complete opposite now. Like he is just boom or bust. He's winning tournaments and then just getting cut. So you can always make a case for a guy that everyone is sour on because he was like, 40, 50% owned certainly in cash at the Masters, and he absolutely was abysmal.
Yeah, and I think guys like him and Rose, who have such longevity, such a large sample size of being elite golfers, it's these guys are going to bounce back from one bad outing, especially considering the seasons they've had. It's not like they've had a poor season and we're just trying to hope that they find something here. I mean, they've both had really good seasons, just bad outings at the Masters, a couple weeks off, and I expect them to be, right back to playing at elite level like they have been for years.
Absolutely. There's no remote panic with someone like that. It's just too much good to outweigh a couple bad weeks. Kind of like Stenson, who leads off the 8K range. This is a mix and match range for me. Like, you have guys like Stenson who almost feel underpriced, guys like Kokrak who are playing out of their minds and are overpriced in the sense of that's not where we normally see them. And then we've got our favorite South Koreans with Sun Jae-im and Benny An. 8K range always a little difficult. What do you think? Obviously, we have to play Benny An, right? That's just step one.
Of course. Of
Okay.
course. I really like Stenson this week. I don't know if the course is the greatest for him. Not the longest off the tee, but the approach game was so good heading into the match play. We didn't really see the results there, but he was gaining massive amounts of strokes on approach, and we saw him play really well at the match play. Ended up finishing T9. Okay at the Masters, T36. But I just think, the way that the approach game turned around in those events leading up to the match play, he was just hitting some amazing irons, gaining so many strokes on those approaches. I think 8,900 is a great price for him. Again, I don't love the course fit here, but I just really love the way that approach game was kind of turning around. And again, we don't really have any data for the last couple events. He played the Zurich last week and the Masters. It's hard to tell how he did. But yeah, I like him. And then, yeah, really, I'm going down to Benny An at 8,300. I'm not a fan of any of the other guys in this range. An was a strange one. I just saw that he lost almost 7 strokes off the tee in round 2 of the Heritage. I don't know if you saw that. I don't even know how you can do that.
I didn't see that, but I'll tell you this. I checked in with him, and he had a couple birdies, and then he had a triple bogey. And then I checked in on him again, and he made a couple more birdies and another triple bogey. So I'm assuming those triple bogeys had to do with some out-of-bounds tee shots. But
yeah, he lost. Yeah, to lose 6.75 strokes off the tee in one round. I mean, that's
the Wesley Bryan.
Right, but for him, that's more of an aberration. Great ball striker. I'm not going to make too much of it. I didn't even really love him at the Heritage. He's a great ball striker, but I prefer him on longer courses like this. So I think 8,300, good price for him. Not a great record here, but the ball striking for the most part's been rock solid. And I always like him at a place where you don't need to make a ton of birdies. The around the green game has been great. I mean, everything has been great except for the putting. With him, I think 8,300 is a really good price. So I don't love a lot of guys in these range, but Stenson and Benny An are probably 2 of my favorite plays on the whole board.
It is nice, though, like you just said, this is not a putting competition. Like, this is not hit it to 10 feet and make as many as you can. This is going to be scrambling. It's going to be try to hold it together on a lot of these holes and then take advantage where you can pick your spots. That's more, this is a tough field. If he breaks through here, that would be amazing, but his game does suit what we're kind of looking at. The guy who I thought, I don't want to say you're going to fall into the trap because I don't know if it's a trap. I figured you were going to be on Lucas Glover, though. I'm not going to lie.
I don't know what to do with him. It's just
he's haunting you this year.
The game has been weirdly erratic for a guy that's made a lot of cuts and finished well. It's like 1 week he's putting well, 1 week he's hitting approaches well, but putting awful. You go back and I looked at his 2 rounds that he played at Harbortown, and I loved him there. And it was like the first round he lost 3 strokes putting. The second round he gained 3 strokes putting, but really didn't do anything else too well. I don't know. I kind of feel like just looking at the stats, it kind of feels like everything is regressing. So yeah, and at 8,500, I just don't think that's a great price for him. If he was 7,800, I would have a lot more interest, obviously. Mm-hmm. But that's not cheap. And when you look at the underlying stats behind the finishes look good out. Obviously he missed the cut, but it's just hard to piece together like where his game is going. And to me, it looks like it's trending down instead of trending up.
Yeah, that's not good. It's such a weird situation, though, just with all these guys, because the data we have obviously is for Heritage. And I don't want to say I care less, but this and Heritage have minimal similarity. So it's like we can't see what these guys did at the Masters, the match play. Some of those would probably be more pertinent to me if I could choose what event. I would omit the Heritage, to be honest. I don't really care. as much, but I'm with you. The last guy I'll throw out, and this is a guy I love to play. I think he might be a little popular, even though he's overpriced. It's Aaron Wise. Obviously played really well here last year, but his game is perfect for this course. Can lean on his driver. Played really well at the Masters. Seems to be finding it after a slow start. So I'm going to still go to him. I know he's 8,100, and that in a field like this, I do think it's a little much. It's reacting to that course history, but I'm still there with him because I think he's so talented.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be super popular, to be
Good.
honest.
Don't play him, people.
But do not play Aaron Wise. Yeah, I mean, perfect setup for him. Yeah, and I mean, just going down from there at 8K, I like Luke List. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Same thing as Benny on. It's almost the ball striking has been so good with List this year. 1.1 strokes off the tee on approach. We know he's got a ton of length. He was 9th here last year. Yeah, just fire him and Benny on almost. 8,300 and 8K, really similar players. A little bit more length out of Luke List, less around the green game. But yeah, I like him just as much at 8K.
They both can scramble though. That's worth noting. Like it's not. There are some other like really good ball strikers that they just can't scramble and they can't putt. At least Benny on. I mean, he's an unbelievable around the green player, and Luke List is solid as well. So I'm with you. It's always a little scary. I mean, you're going to have some dart throws here. You've got Keegan, who's always, obviously a great ball striker. You've got JB Holmes, who, in theory, and we've seen in the past, succeed here. I'm a little skeptical of them. I think out of the three, I'm with you. I would prefer Luke List, which is, I mean, it's very gross. I don't feel good about that, but how can you not? The guy's got to do it sometime, right? Like eventually he's going to win. I'm not saying it's this week, but
yeah, tough ass to win this week. But this is one of the courses where you almost have to be long off the tee. Besides like Furyk, who is like a generational talent as far as an accuracy player goes. I mean, he had a good record here, but outside of him, it's just pretty much bombs away. So
yeah, it's not. That's the thing. If you're incredible like Furyk, he's a generational player. He can do it anywhere. It's still not the ideal setup for him, though. Like you would prefer distance here, and for a guy like Luke List, this sets up well.
And I don't even think there's a Furyk that exists, that on tour today. I mean, Webb Simpson would probably be the closest thing in this field, and he's not anywhere near what Furyk was.
That's because everyone, if you don't hit at 375, you don't even get a shout out anymore. Like you have to be Cameron Champ, who is in this field. CH3 is just there. I have no opinion on him, but it's just worth noting. Working down. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention Killa Keith, sub 8K. God, this actually sets up pretty well for him. Again, a long player. He did it on some courses where I didn't understand how he was getting it done. I feel like this is a much better course for him, but he, unlike Luke List, I worry about his around the green game. Do you think he gets in trouble, or do you think he can just lean on his distance?
Yeah, I mean the poor around the green game is concerning, but yeah, like you said, perfect. Another really good course fit for him, gaining all the strokes off the tee, being so long off the tee. Yeah, I like him. Put him in the same boat, similar boat as Luke List, Aaron Wise. Just a good course fit. And honestly, after this, from mid-7 down, it gets. Yep. This is where it just like seems to fall off, and I really started to struggle finding guys I liked. I think it's going to lead people to building more balanced rosters this week. I don't know. There just was not guys below 7,200 that I had a lot of confidence in. So I think that's going to lead people to going pretty balanced this week.
From the mid-7s to like, I don't know, I guess the high 6s, I didn't see much difference, to be honest. Obviously, there's a little more risk and maybe more checkered recent form, but I didn't feel great about anyone really. And that I agree, especially in cash. You're going to see that just because good luck trying to pick out of these guys. I mean, I looked at someone like Berger. We've got your boy Roberto Castro, who should have won here when Hahn won. He lost in the playoff, I believe. Nick Watney, Bucket Hat, Raiden Man, Joel Dahman. The guy I wanted to talk about, though, and I think a lot of people have been waiting He was awful all year. Kyle Stanley, traditionally one of the best long par 4 players, better player than this price would indicate if you took a long-term approach. Are we jumping back on? Some of us never left because we're real sickos, but what do you think about Kyle Stanley?
Yeah, he kind of piqued my interest.
Mine too.
It's tough though. He was so bad for so long. It's really hard to have a ton of confidence in him. But yeah, I think I'll probably have a little bit of him this week. And like we said, it's just the price range is not good. There's not a lot of guys, and he's a much better player than most of the guys in this range. I don't know. I also like at 7,500. I like Mullinax, another bomber who should fit this course really well. 16th at Heritage, which is not a good course fit for him. He was 13th last week at the Zurich. I think he teamed up with, was it Scott Stallings?
Yeah. And from what I saw, he played pretty well. I did not dig deep.
Yeah, I mean, we're throwing out almost what happened last week, but
his game fits. No doubt.
One missed cut in his last 12 events. Not a lot of high finishes recently, but seems to kind of had turned it around a little bit at RBC. But I just really like this course fit for him. Super long off the tee, gains a lot of strokes off the tee. Pretty decent on approach too. I think he's gaining 0.7 off the tee and on approach. That's a pretty solid clip. So he's interesting to me along with Stanley. I think a little bit better course fit than Stanley, but obviously Stanley has the pedigree. And if he's turning it around, I think, it could be a kind of good time to get in on Stanley.
I wish we could see what Stanley exactly did at the Masters, because that was impressive, especially for a guy with the form he had. He played very well, 21st. And I'm with you, Monax, Darthur. We see him pop in some fields. We've seen him, show up here and there on leaderboards. Tough ass to win, but at the same time, you don't need him to win. He's 7,500. This is a range, though, I don't feel super confident in anyone, but I'm interested in a lot of guys. Fratelli is right there. And then we always talk about him. Can you stomach using Neiman?
No, because he's not good anymore.
That's correct.
I don't care that he won the Chilean.
Did he win? I saw him beating people that I didn't know existed down there.
Yeah, I mean that event did not count for anything. I don't even know if he won, to be honest with you people, but I saw people tweeting about it. He's been awful.
Sad.
So no, I have no interest in Neiman. I don't know what happened to him. Came out so good. Was it the beginning of last year, middle of last year? Was that?
It was like June, like Memorial, Fort Worth, just gaining like 10 strokes on the approach every single week.
Yeah,
just wow, this guy's amazing.
But no, he has not been good. Really outside of Mullinax and Stanley, I think that's about it at 7,500. I'd go down to 72. Hadwin, not a great course fit, but seems a little underpriced for the talent. Matt Jones at 7,200 is intriguing to me. Made a lot of cuts. 30th at Valero, 18th at Corrales, 13th at Valspar. Not great. But for a guy that's pretty much made every cut this year, I think that's pretty decent at 7,200, and it falls off really quickly down here.
So I got a couple things. Friend of the show, Hatchman, appreciate it. Neiman didn't win in Chile. Not that I would even care if he did, but he did not.
So that's even worse.
It's even worse. Yeah. I have I want to preface this, extreme dart throw, but I did want to mention him. 7,200, Curtis Luck. Super putter. He does it all with the putting, so keep that in mind. He is starting to play a little better, and this is a guy that I was super high on. He had a big pedigree with the amateur status, showed some signs of life here and there, and he's been lurking a little. The form is pretty spotty. He was really good at Valspar, gained a boatload putting again. If he can just hang in off the tee here, I could see him as a very, very sneaky 1%er. So I did want to mention I'm taking a pretty aggressive stance with Curtis Luck this week. So we'll revisit that next week, unless he gets cut, and then I will try not to mention it.
Boy, I had to scroll way far down in my ball striking rankings to find Curtis Luck. And I found him here at 130th out of 132. But he must be putting good, yes. No, I don't think I can get there.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Curtis Luck is a guy I really thought was going to be a force sooner rather than later, and he's not doing anything.
Well, he had that great amateur pedigree, right?
Yeah, and he was playing, it wasn't like he was mashing it, but he played well for a little stretch here and there. He was getting some spot starts, and I was like, okay, this guy's going to find his way on tour and you know be a guy that safely makes the FedEx Cup every year, not the finals, but can hang in, and that's not happening. So yes, Matt Jones. There's some safer values. Obviously, Hadwin is the same price. He's light years safer, even though he's not playing great. Oh yeah, and then I wanted to mention one more guy, and not to play him, but Pat Perez apparently didn't rupture his Achilles because he's just in the field.
That's just, I mean, I remember when Adrian Peterson tore his ACL and then came back,
Yeah,
after 6
predator,
months.
regeneration
But
abilities.
yeah, this is setting all kinds of records. He must have gone to Europe and got some like blood spinning or something for that.
Just stem cells on stem cells.
He still couldn't make the cut at the Zurich though with Duffner.
Wow, that is a team right there. Those two. All right, rounding out the 7K, I'm just gonna throw a couple names. I'll let you go. I don't mind Bud Cauley, and chat just brought up a guy that I totally think is in play. Local guy, Harold Varner. Could see him being sneaky popular just because he can really bomb it, and people know that he's a Charlotte native.
Yeah, I like him. I don't think he'll be popular
I would
because
hope not.
he's coming off miscut at the Zurich and miscut at RBC. But like you said, like RBC is like the polar opposite of this event. Like it's is as far different of a track as you can find on tour. And he played pretty well at Valero. He was T23, gained almost 6 strokes with the ball striking there. Gained strokes off the tee. Like you said, he has a local angle here. So I like him in a price range that's pretty devoid of a lot of talent or good plays. So yeah, but I mean, I don't think he'll be popular because I don't know if people are paying attention to Zurich, but they'll see the miscut there. They'll see the miscut at Harbor Town. But yeah, totally different course. And he was playing okay going into Harbor Town, and he does some of the things well that we're looking for.
Yeah, Harbor Town is not a course that I would expect him to succeed at. He can use his length here. The game isn't in great shape, and that's obviously an extreme concern. But down here, we're not going to get. Again, you're not going to find guys that are playing well, fit the course, have great. Like if you found that, they would be higher priced. Chat did mention, and I just want to give a quick shout out to Sam Burns. He's another one. He's just like an actual good version of Curtis Luck. I probably should have just used him as a sneaky play. He does it all with the putter, literally gaining a ton of strokes putting each and every week. But the form is decent, so if you think you can ride that, more power to you. Anyone else before we dumpster dive into the real sickos?
No, I think I'm good. The thing about Burns too, though, he is long off the tee. So he's like 18th driving distance, 55th strokes gain off the tee. So even though he does a lot of damage with the putter, we know he can get it out there too, which is a good combination for here. You have to have that length. So
no, I think that's a good call. Shout out. I'm going to butcher that name, but DC, I'm going to call you. Appreciate that in chat. All right, now we get, and I'll give my little plug because you got to take a moment to look for the real, because the 6K range is brutal. But as I always say, if you haven't signed up, you want to check us out, you can do so. You can use the promo code JazzRaz. Get a half of your first month. We've got all the stuff behind the paywall, projections, ownership, my article, Tim in Slack doing all his things. And that's just for golf. We obviously have all the other sports as well. So we hope you check it out. We've got a major in 2 weeks. Golf season, it seems like it's been going forever. It's barely getting started. So that's where we're at in life. But before we do all that, we do need to talk about the 6K range. What do you think? You find anyone you feel even remotely comfortable?
No, not really, to be honest with you. It's pretty bad. I was surprised that for such a strong field at the top, how it kind of fell off at the bottom. And I don't know if it's because there's just not a lot of talent or just the way things lined up where there's not a lot of guys under 7K that really have good form. Your boy Peter Malnati at 6,700 was like one of the few guys that stuck out to me.
Really? The putting wizard.
Yeah, and I don't even love this course for him, but 9th at the Zurich, 16th at Harbor Town, 23rd at Valero. He's made his last 5 cuts, gained almost 5 or a little over 5.5 strokes with the ball striking at RBC. So he was striking it well there. But boy, yeah, it's pretty bad. He was really the only guy that stuck out to me as far as a guy who was making cuts. It was in fairly decent form, and came in with some solid ball striking in his last event. But yeah, a lot of these guys are. It's going to be a lot of shots in the dark down here.
It's tricky. Yeah, I mean, I Johnson Wagner's a local guy. He's had a little success here. Chesson Hadley, similar. I don't think he's such a bad scrambler. I'm not sure I can get there. It's just too difficult with him. Chad is clamoring for us to talk about Hank Laboida, who is a guy, I'll be honest, I don't know much about. I've looked at his stats. Gaining off the tee, ball striking seems pretty good. Obviously, the big thing would be this is a huge step up. He really hasn't had any major finishes anywhere, and especially at tournaments with some big names in it. So clearly the game's in decent shape. If you think he could keep these cuts going, it's not the worst punt. He's made 6 out of 7 cuts, 8 out of 10, but you're not getting a ton of placement points even when he is finding the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard. I mean, I don't even see guys down here that I really feel confident in, like a volatile player. It just doesn't seem like there's a ton of guys where it's like, yeah, this guy's been up and down, but if you catch him on the right week, it's really ugly. Yeah. Carlos Ortiz's brother is in here. Alvaro Ortiz. I mean, God, it's I don't even know if did he turn pro now?
I think he did. I don't know. I'm not sure if we can really. It's tough though, and this is the thing. If you want to jam, trying to bring it back. Say you're like, I want Rory and I want Rose or something. You're forced to funnel down here, and it's really tough.
No, just don't do that. I don't think.
Probably
I think that would be my professional opinion to not try that.
Man, oh no, I hope that's not true. Someone in chat said Curtis Luck has withdrawn. So that's what happens when I mention him. That would be an extreme dark horse then if he's not even playing. We'll have to confirm that. Jonas Blix. God, this is really dicey. I mean, I don't know. He's another one. Really good short game, putting. Not even really good short game, just putting, honestly. I'm not sure how many guys we're going to be able to find down here who can even compete, ball strike. What I'm really looking for is guys like Varner in a sense that at least I know they can drive the ball well. There's not that much down here, even in that category.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I kind of racked my brain earlier when I was prepping, and it didn't seem to be. It was a strange. I mean, usually there's a couple guys you could find that have some upside or at least some decent ball striking, but I just didn't see it. So yeah, I'm probably not going to be going below Malnati at 6,700 and building some pretty balanced lineups this week.
Yeah, I'm looking at like I looked at talk about extremely disturbing. I looked at Hagee, I looked at Tom Lovelady because they're like, bombers, but their game is in shambles.
Yeah, they're literally just missing every cut.
Yeah, I mean it's great if you can bomb it, but those guys, if they have a 100-yard wedge, it's just off the shot tracker with Hagee. And then he always makes like a 30-foot par putt. That guy makes more saves, but that's not going to get it done. Like I said, this is going to be a week. Perfect segue of why you should watch tomorrow night. Lineup construction, I think, is going to be brutally important because a lot of people are going to have similar pools, I think. You look at driving distance, you look at what we need here, but how are you going to be able to construct A, differently, and B, within the constraints of the 50K that you're given? Because it's not that easy, especially if you're trying to end in the 7K range.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're gonna have to rack our brain on some of this stuff, but yeah, I just don't see myself going down there, and it's gonna be tough for me to even play Rory without the value down below. I really want to play Rory. Obviously, it looks like the best play on the board, but with so few players below 7K that you feel confident in, I don't know. Do you think that'll lead to Rory being lower owned than he should be?
I think so. Because it's either that or it'll build. There will be pairings with Rory that are like crazy owned. Because it's like, all right, let me take Rory, and then you're going to be in a dead zone, and then I'll take an 8K and 7K guy, something like that. And it's just you want to be careful of how you build because everyone who does that is going to have the same mindset of let me see where I'm left. If you're trying to avoid that bottom end, I mean, but it's tricky. I like weeks like this. I think it's challenging to build, but you have some options on the other side. Before, obviously, we'll get back a little to DraftKings, but did you make any bets? I know you were off last week. Now you got
Yeah,
money
I
to play
haven't
with.
made any bets yet this week. If
Ooh,
you can believe that, I don't know. I might just fire on Hatchman's boy Benny on and call it a week. Not seeing anything that I really love this week. Like I said, I struggled with I like having multiple weeks of ball striking to look at. That's really like the most important thing for me is to look back and see 3 or 4 weeks of ball striking gives me a great feel for how guys are playing, who may be overvalued, undervalued, based on ball striking instead of finishing position. And we just don't have that this week. So it's kind of a struggle for me. So yeah, no bets yet, but yeah, I don't know. I really feel Benny on. I
I
don't
thought
know. I
that.
don't, the ball striking was good going into RBC, and I'm almost willing to throw that out just because it's such a different course. And I didn't even really love him at that track. So yeah, I think this is a much better setup for him. But yeah, nothing yet.
Betting on and Luke List, like many people, I'm sure, are guys that it always feels like they're going to be on the cusp because they do, especially with stats, they grade out really well, especially when you don't factor in putting, which in a situation like this, I'm not really looking at that too much. I'm not sure. It's interesting. I said this at the beginning. It's the kind of course, an event where you can get a bomb. Um, I don't know if I'm ready to go to someone like in the 6K and say, wow, they're going to come out of nowhere. But someone like Mullinax-esque, where, okay, the game's not perfect, it's big step up. I wouldn't be stunned to see it. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they could maybe get in the mix on a Sunday. Maybe they're going against one of these top end guys. And that's going to be the key, not only obviously in the betting world, but in the DraftKings world is finding that because we've seen time and time again. Roberto Castro's gotten involved. Wise last year. There's going to be some lower owned guys with some big finishes here.
Yeah, for sure. My boy Roberto Castro, he'll probably be pretty popular this week, but
You think just because of the
I don't know. He played well if you were paying attention to the Zurich, played well there, and then he's got a good course history here. But
fair enough?
strange course fit for him. He doesn't hit the ball very far, and he's one of the second and an eighth here. I was surprised he played so well the year he lost in the playoff. It just seems like not the best course for him.
I will say I remember that well because he was on. That was one of my first ever really really good weeks on DraftKings, and I had him on the team, and he made a eagle on the impossibly hard par 4 from the fairway. That helped. I remember that vividly. So it was that kind of week. I have a feeling for old Roberto. A couple last things before we wrap up. What kind of greens is there Bermuda? We had a question about Wyndham Clark, and this is a guy that I've been kind of playing here and there. His irons are just awful, but everything else is pretty good. I like his off the tee game. He's a great putter. Do you have any interest? I know you're not super high on him. I feel like on the whole.
Yeah, he's intriguing, but it's just really hard for me to get behind him when the approach game is so bad. And to me, that's the most important aspect of, regardless of course, I'd rather have a good approach game over anything else. And yeah, long off the tee, good off the tee, great putting, great around the green game. But yeah, when you're that poor with the approaches, it's just really difficult for me to get behind him. And also the putting, it's like we don't know, that could regress at any minute. We see guys that come on tour and start off putting. Didn't Neiman? What did Neiman?
I will say, you and me today, I think the bye week did us wonders. We got some telepathy going. I was about to say, Neiman, when he came on, I was like, oh, this guy, what a putter.
Yeah, so these guys that we've never seen before, we only have a small sample size of putting, and it's like, oh, Wyndham Clark's a great putter. Wyndham Clark could be a horrible putter that just has run good to start his career off, just like Neiman did. And I'm not saying that Clark is a good or a bad putter. I'm just saying that's definitely a possibility. So yeah, I'm a little concerned about that in the approach game. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely an intriguing player, but not for me.
Yeah, I mean, there are other guys there that, not that we need to go through them, but the KH Lee, Russell Henley types are some.
Oh, you don't have to talk me into KH Lee.
KH Lee, I want to give you some credit. He's like, people use him all over the place. You found him, I feel like by accident. I think it was Genesis, where he led the field in strokes gained approach. I didn't even know he existed at that time. And now, if you're not playing KH Lee, who are you at this point? Everyone who's anyone does that.
I mean, he carried Matt Every's carcass to a T3 at the Zurich last week.
This guy, one thing I do want to point out on a serious note, I don't look at this too much, but I do see some similarities with Genesis. I mentioned Torrey, those type of courses, the Riv. I see it. They're long. You can kind of get away. Bubba excels. Not that he's in this field, but those types where guys, you kind of know where to miss it. And you need to know what you're doing because it's not just about bombing. It's strategy mixed with distance. And we don't see that too many times on tour. I think this is one of those weeks where both come into play.
Yeah, I'm with you. Great course. A lot of weeks we kind of mad about the course. I think next week is Byron Nelson. Maybe that falls into one of those weeks where we're not too thrilled about the course. But yeah, this is
is that the one with like the mini golf hole from last year?
I think it's a Trinity Forest.
Yeah, but
I don't.
Yeah,
I can't even. I don't even have the energy to look 1 week ahead. It's like I have time on this show. I have to focus on this week. But yeah, I mean, it's good to have a course. I like a course that has an identity. A course where you feel like you know what it takes to play well here. Some of the courses, it's really kind of all over the board where you've seen this type of player do well, that type of player do well. I mean, it's like we feel like we know what it takes to do well here, and that helps a lot when you're creating your rosters. I think it helps you pare down your player pool because there is a very definite things that this course asks for. So yeah, it's one of the better weeks on tour.
It's a good one. I've always liked this event. I've always liked this course. And then the field certainly recognizes it. It's solid for a non-major. I'm sure next week guys will be at Bethpage already getting ready for that. But any final thoughts? I do want to say this is just something. I don't know if you were, like I said, you weren't betting, so you took a break. Did you see, and I don't have the Twitter name in front of me, somebody hit he hit the PGA, then he hit the Euro guy, and then he hit, I guess that's the web.
Yeah, I was like,
that's insane.
He tagged me in his betting ticket but it was like beforehand, and I was just like, oh, whatever, It's like this guy's not hitting all three of these.
Just more winners than I'll have cumulative for the year.
Yeah, like I'm trying to hit like one top 10, and it's like this guy's just crushing it.
Parlaying. So shout out to that person. That's fantastic. Just 3 not crazy long shots, but long enough.
But it doesn't even have to be when
No, when you're
parlay like 3 20-1 winners. It's like, good Lord.
You'll do fine. All right. My final thoughts, like I said, is it's going to be a roster construction week. Get your pool and then see kind of how you can leverage it, because I feel like you're going to have different builds that everyone funnels into. If you play Rory, you're going to be significantly more likely to play some of the, I don't want to say obvious cheapies because there's not, but some of the safer cheapies. And if you go balanced, you're going to see that, Luke List, Benny On type Finau all bunched together in like a 9K, 8K build. You want to be cognizant that you don't fall into that trap. Even though the builds are going to look good, try to change it up. Do a 2v2. Add a little flavor, especially if you're trying to win a 100K up top against 200,000 people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm leaning on course fit a lot more this week, where there's just not a lot of obvious cheap guys to play. So yeah, I'll just kind of look at the cheaper guys and look at guys who, even though they might not have good form or course history here, just whose stats line up off the tee, driving distance. Yeah, and kind of go at it that way, because they're just not the cheap guys that have good form or, great ball striking. So you're just going to have to kind of do other things to pick out some of the value guys. And I'm going with course fit because I think this is a course that, requires a certain fit. It's more important this week than you'll see on other weeks.
Fair enough. Well, we're going to get out of here, but chat, we appreciate it. Some real good talk in there today, which is always fun. It makes the show a lot more fun. If you can hit the like button in between, we would appreciate it. And if you want to get in touch with us, you should sign up. You can also find us on Twitter, Fantasy Golfman, Jazzraz DFS, all that good stuff. And let's get ready. This is going to be a good little stretch of golf. I like this week. Next week's fine. And then we've got a major. So one of the better, and we're rested. We didn't deplete the whole energy fresh off the week. I'll be back tomorrow night with Jason Roslin. Like I said, bring your questions, Q&A session at the end of that if you have them in lineup construction, and we'll see what we can do with the Wells Fargo. So good luck, everyone. Nice to have golf back, and we will see you next week.